Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you? This is Kenneth Overton, your host on another edition and episode of Black Opera Live, sponsored by Black Opera Productions, LLC, the team that is producing the upcoming documentary Black Opera. We are so excited. I'm excited to be with you, particularly on today, because this panel of guests is absolutely incredible. I am so excited to have them. They are trailblazers in their own right, tremendous artists, and you will enjoy them as much as I do. And if you have not heard their music or seen them perform, you need to fix that in your life, because these gentlemen are all absolutely positively incredible. I am also happy because today, finally, the Electoral College folks have done what they need to do with their ballots, and we now officially have a new president-elect and Madam Vice President. Congratulations and thank you and amen. I am so excited about that. But let's start with telling you a bit about each of my guests. My goodness, my goodness. First, I want to give you a little bit about Cortez Mitchell. Now, all of my guests are countertenors, okay? And I'm going to let them tell you what that is, what that's all about, the history of that, what that looks like, what the life of a countertenor is like, all wrapped up in the body of a very attractive Black man. Like, we're going to talk about all of that stuff, in addition to their careers and all of the amazing projects that they're involved in and have done over their life as an artist. First is Cortez Mitchell. Countertenor is a native of Detroit, Michigan. He graduated from Morgan State University with a BA in music and a BS in mathematics, and holds an MM in voice from the University of Cincinnati's College Conservatory of Music. As Minnesota Opera's first resident artist countertenor, he performed the role of Cherubino in Mozart's Le Notte di Figaro and covered Niklaus in Offenbach's Le Conte di Hoffmann. With urban opera, he performed the role of First Switch in Purcell's Dido and Aeneas, and he has been featured in solo performances of Bach's Cantata 147, Herz und Mund und Tat und Leben with the Dayton Philharmonic, and Nathaniel Dett's The Ordering of Moses, and Adolphus Hailstork's The Made My Vow with the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra. He also has performed Rachmaninoff's Vespers in St. Petersburg, Russia, and Wynton Marsalis's All Rise with the Lincoln Center Jazz Ensemble. Cortez has received awards from the National Opera Association, the Washington International Competition, and the Houston Grand Opera Eleanor McCullum Competition. And Mr. Mitchell is in his 14th, count it, baby, 14, not 1, not 2, not 5, not 10, but 14th season with the incredible world-renowned ensemble Chanticleer. You may have heard of them. 14 seasons. Get into it. Welcome, Cortez. I'm so glad you are here. Next is Patrick Daly. My goodness. Patrick Daly has been described as possessing a powerful and elegant countertenor voice. The Los Angeles Daily News said that, but I can co-sign because I've heard it. And a vocal standout by the Boston Classical Review. His artistry was identified early through the National NAACP AXO competition, 2005 and 2006, and the NFAA Arts and the Grady Ram Prize in Sacred Music of the Negro Spiritual Scholarship Foundation. That is a marvelous foundation in Orlando, Florida. If you don't know about it, go look it up, the Negro Spiritual Scholarship Foundation. Patrick Daly made his professional operatic debut with Opera Saratoga as the first countertenor member of the company's Young Artist Program. You notice a trend. These young men already, the first two, are the first to do something in somebody's Young Artist Program. We need to fix that, folks. Fix it, fix it. The program was and he was the first countertenor invited to Opera New Jersey's Victoria J. Mastrobuono Emerging Artist Program. Operatic repertoire includes Oberon in Britain's A Midsummer Night's Dream, Nerone in Monteverdi's Le Coronazione di Poppea, and Belize in Eotvos, Angels in America. He performs regularly with the Harlem Opera Theater, Ailey's Chamber Ensemble, Intersection Contemporary Music Ensemble, and has appeared with the Mid-Atlantic Symphony Orchestra, the Fayetteville Symphony Orchestra, in North Carolina, Soulful Symphony, the Arkansas Philharmonic Orchestra, and the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra. And on January 19th, 2009, Mr. Daly sang a featured duet with Aretha Franklin. Yes, the Queen of Soul, as the finale for the annual Let Freedom Ring celebration at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. And additionally, he has been featured artist with Cook, Dixon, and Young, formerly known as Three Mo Tenors, since 2012. Welcome, Patrick. So good to have you here. Next, Reggie Mobley, baby. Reggie. I'm so glad to finally meet Reggie. I've heard so much about him and his amazing artistry, particularly noted for his crystalline diction and pure, even produced tone by the Miami Herald. And according to the receipts that I have, that is also true. This countertenor Reggie Mobley is highly sought after for Baroque, classical, and modern repertoire. Recent highlights include an extensive tour of 16 concerts around Europe, singing Bach's St. Matthew Passion with the Monteverdi Choir and English Baroque soloists led by Sir John Eliot Gardiner, and an ensemble to which he returned for a further European tour where international reviews commented on his purity of timbre and homogeneity of tone. He also performed concerts of Handel's Messiah with the Royal Scottish National Orchestra, Purcell's King Arthur with the Academy of Ancient Music in London, and the Mozart Requiem with Orchestra in Poland. Yes, fantastic. My God, these gentlemen and their accomplishments. Other recent appearances include Bachfest in Leipzig and the Boston Early Music Festival, St. Paul Chamber Orchestra, Philharmonia Baroque, and the music of the Baroque. And upcoming engagements include Handel's Messiah with the City of Birmingham Orchestra in June of 2020. And we hope that if Corona interrupted that God will bring it right on back and you get to do it again. In May of 2019, Reginald made his Paris recital debut at the Musée d'Orsay, which was enthusiastically received. I am so glad to have this gentleman here with me tonight. Welcome, Reggie Mobley, to the panel. Next, we have the doctor himself, the great, the fantastic, the marvelous, innovative Darrell Taylor. Darrell Taylor's performances have been noted for their compelling artistry and authority. His is an international career highlighted by performances of art song, opera, and oratorio. His repertoire extends from Bach to Britten and beyond. He does it all, trust me, and it's beautifully done. Mr. Taylor has appeared with orchestras in the United States and in Europe. These include the Johann Strauss Sinfonietta in Vienna, the Mozart Philharmonic of Cluj in Romania, the Camerata Mediterranea of Barcelona, and the Aspen Music Festival Young Artist Series, under the batons of conductors Conchita Garcia, Christian Floria, Gerd Meritz, Gustav Meyer, Richard Rosenberg, James Vale, Rebecca Burkhardt. I mean, he works with everybody. Recent performance highlights include singing the heroic role of Orfeo in Gluck's Orfeo et Eurydice for the Utrechtse Spelen et Paljas Schotlicht in Holland before 70,000 spectators. Darrell, we need to talk about that. I don't know what it's like to sing in front of 70,000 people. Darrell Taylor's New York recital debut took place at Weill Recital Hall at Carnegie Hall. And in addition to his classical credits, he has been associated with such notable jazz greats as Kenny Burrell, Hubert Laws, Jimmy Owens, and Nathan Davis. And if you don't know about his advocacy for the African-American art song, you need to fix your life and learn something, because he is the king. And we'll put up some information about where you can learn more about that and support the Art Song Alliance and support Darrell Taylor in his incredible efforts. Last but not least, a man that I have admired for so long and finally met via StreamYard tonight, countertenor Derek Lee Reagan, my goodness, is somewhat better known for his portrayals on the operatic stage than for the many concerts he has appeared in. His repertoire is amazingly broad, encompassing works by Baroque composers, Handel in particular, as well as 20th century ones like Benjamin Britten and Ligeti. Derek Lee Reagan was born in West Point, New York on, well, we're not going to say ages and numbers. As a child growing up in Newark, New Jersey, down the street from me, what's up, Newark? He was strongly attracted to music, first studying piano at age 11. He began vocal instruction at the Newark Boys Chorus School, but when he enrolled at Oberlin College of Conservatory of Music, he chose to study piano, though his major did include music education in general. His career as a singer flourished quickly with an official operatic debut in 1983 at the Innsbruck Festwoche der Alte Musik in Cestis Il Tito. After vocal study in Amsterdam, he won first prize at the ARD International Music Competition in 86. 2 years later, he debuted at the Metropolitan singing Nerenus in Handel's Giulio Cesare. After further impressive debuts, 1990 Salzburg Festival in Glux Orfeo, Reagan's recordings began to receive critical acclaim. His CD of Handel's Giulio Cesare on the Harmonia Mundi label won the Gramophone Award in 1992. And his Tel-Arc recording of Bernstein's Chichester songs, Missa Breves and Walter's Belshazzar's Feast won a Grammy Award in 1995. For the 1994 movie Farinelli about 18th century castrati, Carlo Broschi, who used the stage name of Farinelli, Reagan sang the vocal parts. Get into it. Get into it. He sang that. And the film went on to receive a Golden Globe for Best Foreign Film in 1995. Reagan appeared at the 1998 Tanglewood Festival with Maestro Seiji Ozawa and the Boston Symphony Orchestra for a successful reprising of Bernstein's Chichester Psalms. And Reagan has maintained a busy schedule of operatic and concert appearances in the new century and remains active in the recording studio as well. In 2005, Naxos issued a CD featuring Reagan in works by Benjamin Britten. Listen, these gentlemen are just beyond. And I am so excited and honored and pleased to introduce you to Cortez Mitchell, Patrick Daly, Reggie Mobley, Daryl Taylor, Derek Lee Reagan. Welcome to the show, fellas. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Y'all are busy. Y'all are doing it. I mean, really, 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 really do. And the folks are already commenting. I'll put up some comments of people who are already in the room and people who are just excited that you all are here. And I'm excited that you all are here. And oh, hey Karen, how are you? Yes, I'm. Hey Marvin. Hey Michelle, how are you?
Hello, Michelle. Patrick McCoy.
Fantastic. This is, I wanted you all to feel the love that you so richly deserve. And I wanted to let the world get to know you all a little bit better on this platform, because here at Black Opera, we celebrate all the Black voices, all of them, all of them, all of them, from basses to coloratures to brown ones to Black ones to opera to concert to spirituals and everything in between, because it needs to be celebrated and you all add to the fabric of brilliance that is great music. So let's start with you, Cortez. Tell us a little bit about you, where you grew up, and how did classical music come into your life?
Well, as he said before, I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I started singing at church. Most of us sort of did, I think. Then in elementary school, my choir teacher in elementary school sort of introduced me to classical music. I didn't really realize what I was doing at that age until like later on. I began to draw connections. I was singing Mendelssohn, and like all that stuff came back to me as I got older and continued my studies of music. Particularly after high school, I would say. I really found myself more interested in pursuing music as a career. And having learned in high school what a countertenor was particularly enlightening for me, because I always found myself leaning towards singing in my head voice, even though being forced to sing tenor was a bit of a struggle. I just couldn't quite sing some of those top notes in the mix that you're normally supposed to do as a tenor.
Right.
there was a group called the Scholars of London that came to my high school, and there were 3 men and a female, and I was a little bit confused by that. And I said, "Well, who's singing alto?" And um, my teacher said, "Well, that gentleman is," and I'm like, "That's different." Okay. And the soprano actually walked by me, mind you. I had no idea. She walked by me. I'm speaking to friends. It's like, oh my God, I'm excited to see see this group and da 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 da. And she walked past and says, Angus, there's another countertenor. And she's talking about me. And I'm like, ma'am, I'm sorry. What are you talking about? No idea. So anyhow, fast forward after high school, I get into school at Morgan State University. And it was there that I officially began my studies as a countertenor. The funny thing,
it's so interesting you mentioned Morgan State University, because that was the first place I heard a countertenor, and it happened to be a Black countertenor, and his name was Ernie. And I was blown away by him, because Morgan State used to come to my high school in Philadelphia and recruit. Dr. Carter would come every year and bring the choir on tour every year. And this man just started singing high B's and C's and D's. And I was just like, what's happening? What's that? What's going on? And he gave me a full scholarship to Morgan. I didn't go, but I almost did. But Morgan exposed me to the countertenor. That's fantastic. Wow. And I want to get into that a little bit further in the competition, Cortez, but thank you for that. Patrick, will you enlighten the folks who you are, where you're from, and how did you get involved in all this classical craziness?
I'm so impressed with how Cortez did that, so I'm going to try to do the same. However, whenever I speak anywhere, I always start with this. I'm the great-grandson of West Tennessee sharecroppers, my Pearl and Daddy Fred Slocum. My mother came to Tennessee A&I State University in 1966 rather, first in the family to go to college. And that set us on a different trajectory. I also will say that to my grandmother, who was 93, West Tennessee, like back in the day, folks didn't always get to do stuff like, the formal study, particularly folks in the country, right? And so my grandmother is in those old groups would have been what's called the high note soprano. And still got it, actually. She still got a little spin on it. It's amazing. So I'm from Nashville and went to performing arts school there, National School of the Arts and all. But really what helped to build this, of course, has already been mentioned, Black Church. The choirs are singing there. What started me sort of on that trajectory was being in Nashville and being around Fisk University and the Jubilee Singers. And that was actually my only goal coming up. I was like, I want to go to Fisk and be a Jubilee Singer. Then I did these competitions and stuff. I got really fascinated with particularly the HBCU choirs and these programs. Heard about Morgan. The Morgan PBS special came on. Another PBS special that came on, of course, was Cook, Dixon, and Young, the original three more tenors, and seeing them. And I was like, oh, I could do that. So Morgan comes to town, and it was the first time that I heard countertenors as well. So Cortez had already graduated by that time, but it was Kenneth Austin, my best friend, Thomas Allen, and who was a tenor, but Tavon Hasty. And I heard the three of them, and I was like, oh my God, that's me. So as I'm saying that, my mom's next to me, and she was like, there was a man that came out, and he spoke about Morgan and the work they do at Salama Urban Ministries. His name is William Krim. And my mother said, I pray my son gets to work with that man. Fast forward, my friend said, Patrick, we're doing this show at Fisk. We're doing a gospel at Colonus. You need to come audition because we know you want to go to Fisk. Bishop Jubilee was my nickname. And they were like, I went in there, did the show, and who was sitting there as the director was Mr. Krim. And that changed my life because he's actually the one. I'm naturally a tenor, and it was Mr. Krim who said, "Yeah, you're going to be a countertenor." He switched me up. He did all of that, and was also very adamant about me going to Morgan. And that was also a place after AXO and some other spaces that I said, "This is what I want to do." Hearing those voices and being around those folks. So yeah.
Wow, amazing. I love to hear it. And we'll get into it a little later about what you just said about fixed you up, because I want to know what that is. I really do. But in the meantime, Reggie, tell me about you, sir. I have only heard of the legend of Reggie Mobley, baby. Because listen, it wasn't until 2019 that I ever sang Bach in public. as a soloist. I was always nervous. He always made me nervous. I just felt exposed. But but the thing was, I was asked to sing Bach at the Oregon Bach Festival. Talk about pressure. And when I got there, of course, do you know Reggie Mobley? Do you know Reggie Mobley? Oh. No, I don't know Reggie Mobley. Do I? Oh, you need to know Reggie Mobley. You need to know him. So I am so glad to know you. Please tell the folks who you are, where you come from, and about how all this excellence started. Please.
Oh boy.
I want to start with a fact.
Okay.
99.7 of all Black countertenors started in the church.
Yes.
The other 0.3, I just don't know.
I don't know where y'all from.
I was born in Gainesville, Florida, a while ago, some time ago, and born and raised. Of course, started singing in the church as a kid. I took piano lessons for a couple of years in middle school and high school. I played trumpet. So music was always kind of on the back burner, on a slow boil, but it was never really anything I really wanted to do. And it was until the end of high school. So my high school was a magnet school for drafting and architecture, and I was in that program.
Wow.
So I wanted to be an architect, and while I was there, I took all the advanced placement art courses, AP Art. I had 2 AP Art courses my junior senior year, and I was just happened to be singing outside of the choir room when the choir teacher heard me, and she brought me in and said, "Hey, can you sing this line? I want to hear you sing." And I was like, "Okay." And so I did. And she said, "You have too many art classes. It's time to drop one." And so my senior year, she had me go to the office beginning of the year, and I switched one of my AP Art courses for chorus, and I was in love, singing barbershop, singing Purcell, singing, all these octavos, singing everything we could. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But it still wasn't what I wanted to do. And it was only the end of my high school career that I was developing wrist problems. And I had just received a full ride to Davidson College in North Carolina for graphic arts. And that was my plan. But my mother, knowing me and knowing what she actually wanted, which is fine, said it's time to also look at an HBCU. So I was raised Seventh-day Adventist. And so she had her eyes set on Oakwood. And so we did a last-ditch effort. We applied to Oakwood, and they graciously accepted my application and also matched my scholarship for music instead of art. And so I took an immediate left turn. I said goodbye art, and started my freshman year as a trumpet performance major at Oakwood College.
Wow.
I didn't touch trumpet a single day. I immediately started taking voice lessons because I wanted to sing. And I used to inquire. I sang baritone in the Aeolians, and I started to try to train as a tenor. It was okay, and it was only when I went back to Florida after that year and went back to the University of Florida that my professor heard me singing an alto line of something. I think it was a barbershop song, actually. I was in barbershop quartet at UF, and he took me to his office and said, "Sing this scale." And I said, "Okay, I'll sing it." He said, "No, sing it up here, E flat major 4, not octave below." And so we sang the scales. We went up and down. He said, "You know what, son? You're a countertenor." And I was like, "Okay, well, what's a countertenor?" He's like, "Well, you're also an idiot." So he gave me this CD of several countertenors, and I went home. And he said, "When you hear this, when you come back, this is what you'll do for the rest of your life." And I haven't proven him wrong yet, but I'm trying.
Amazing. I love that story. My goodness. Daryl, tell us where you're from. How'd you get started with all this singing? And just fill us in.
Well, I like Cortez. I'm from Detroit.
Come on, Detroit. Do you all notice that there are just certain cities that produce great singing?
Detroit is you can't swing a cat without hitting a singer. Detroit. The truth.
Oh gosh.
So I grew up in Detroit. I played in my elementary school orchestra. I played cello, but I never had lessons or anything like that. So music was really on the periphery for me. I had an older sister who sang, and so what my older sister did, I did. And because she sang in gospel, I sang gospel. And eventually, I just started kind of focusing a little bit more on it. And I was discovered by Willis Patterson, the great Willis Patterson. He came to my high school. and invited me to Interlochen National Music Academy as an all-state high school choir participant. That was for 2 summers, and gosh, fast forward, I started training as a tenor. I moved out to California. I finished high school in Los Angeles. I studied with a lovely woman privately who suggested to me that I start considering works by Black composers while I was also thinking about my standard repertoire. She was very, very forward-thinking in that way. But she prepared me for my audition to USC. I went to USC on scholarship as a tenor. Studied with Michael Sells. About my senior year as a tenor there, Michael heard me do something. I think I was doing Venema ma bien-aimée, and me floating the high A, and he says, "Well, Daryl, no, hold it. Let's look at that." that is not just falsetto. That's a legitimate sound, and he was the first one to kind of cue me and say, "There's something to be thought of with that." I went on tour with the Albert McNeil Jubilee Singers, and another wonderful singer, Oral Moses, heard recital I had done, and he says, "Daryl, what you're doing is as a tenor." He says, "As a tenor," he said, "your production is more like a mezzo than as a tenor." I didn't know what that meant. I said, "Oh, well, that's interesting." And then when I went to graduate school at the University of Michigan, I was studying. I had the distinction of studying with the great George Shirley, and Mr. Shirley was asking me to do something in my lessons. I did both my master's and my doctorate there, and he was asking me to do something in my lesson, and I said I was having some trouble matching the aesthetic that he was asking for. And I finally said, "Mr. Shirley, I'm not resisting you. My voice does that an octave up." And he says, "Really? Let me hear it." And I sang, and his jaw fell down. He said, "Well, Daryl, I think you're a countertenor." I said, "No, no. I rejected it with my whole being. I rejected it. Did you? Out. Well, because when I was in school, now, interestingly, at the same time, in the same studio, studying as a tenor, was the great David Daniels, who at the same time, Mr. Shirley had said, "I think you're a countertenor," and Dave listened. I did not. And at that time, Derek's recordings were just surfacing. I was just getting a sense of what the full scope of what a real countertenor was and what was available for us. And in my ear, I just heard the English church countertenor, and I said I rejected that. I loved my tenor voice, and while I had issues that needed to be cemented, I wasn't going to give up on it. And so I didn't reject Mr. Shirley's advice. I just put it on the back burner. And about 12 years after that, I'm fully into my career as a tenor. I released recordings. I've done my recital debut, and I'm also in academia at this time. Thank the Lord for academia. It has really been a safe harbor for me. But I went back to Michigan as an alum, and I did a master class, and I modeled for one of the mezzos. And Mr. Shirley came up to me afterwards and he says, "But now, Daryl, did you give any more thought to that which I had said?" Yes, no, this is 12 years after. But I said, "Well, Mr. Shirley, as a matter of fact, I have." And I had given myself enough time to stabilize whatever issues were going on in my tenor voice. I thought that I'd done what I could do as a tenor, and I'm not ashamed of any of my tenor stuff. recording Love Rejoices and Dreamer.
One of my favorites. Listen, if you see that you have like 10 million views on YouTube of your Love Rejoice videos, 9,887,000 of them are mine.
Well, I was not ashamed of the work that I had done, and so I could then embrace the countertenor drum. And with Mr. Shirley's support, it was always this kind of tussle with me. So I went home and I sang through. I will never forget it. I sang through the 23rd Psalm, Paul Creston, and I just felt with such emotion because I said, well, damn, I guess I'm a countertenor, because I made myself cry. It was just so beautiful. And I said, well, this is just all truth for me. It didn't feel like I was putting on anybody's anything. I was just allowing my voice to be fully what it was. Yeah. And the issue was I transitioned late, and so there were no competitions that I could enter. It was very difficult to get anyone in management to hear me. Fortunately, I had.
It's so interesting. These are all of the issues that I want to talk about tonight. Managers and young artist programs with Patrick and Cortez being the first in their respective programs. I want to flush all of that. But before we get there, let's bring into the room the good sir, Mr. Derek Lee Reagan. Yeah. Now, sir, tell us where you're from and how did all of this start for you? And then on the back end of that, I want you to tell me, did you have other countertenor influences? Because for me, when I hear countertenor and the first, and then the first who happens to look like me, your name comes up, your face comes up. Yes. Did you have other people to look up to sort of help you chart your own course? But first, bring us in and tell us where you're from and how you got started.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yes. So I grew up in Newark, New Jersey, along with 4 other siblings. My mother, she's a fine singer. I had a father who died quite young. He was a fine singer. When I heard them at age 5 in Bermuda, they were harmonizing. And I thought, this is great. It was Sarah Vaughan and Dakota Staton. And then my mother would put on classical music, Grieg, Peer Gynt Suite. And I said, what is this? We moved to Newark, New Jersey. 4 years later, I joined the Newark Boys Chorus. Part of the reason for that was I had a grandmother who had a son who was determined to sing. I said, I want to sing. He couldn't sing. I said, I don't know what's going on, but we're my bestie. They're not going to have him in. He snuck in. I snuck in with the Newark Boys Chorus for 3 years. Thank God. At the same time, I was taking piano lessons at the New York Community Center of the Arts, where I met a wonderful Stella Lass, who decided that I should go to New Hampshire to study as a pianist, chamber music. I did that for 3 years. Also went to the Marlborough Institute in Vermont for a year. And it was an interesting time because I knew in the back of my head that I wanted to sing. I didn't know what I was going to sing, but I was always in choirs, like again from age 6 to 17. But it was when I went to Oberlin as a pianist, as you all know, and a music educator. I met this mentor. I'm calling her my mentor now because that's actually what she did. Her name is Ursula Steckel, who said to me, she heard me in the Collegium Musicum. She goes, Derek, I grew up in Germany. I know what this voice can do. And I said, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I like to sing, but, and I hear from all of you, he's kind of like, what, sing what? She said, you need to go, I always do the voice. She said, you need to go to Europe, my darling. And I said, oh, you mean Newark? She said, oh, no, Europe. And I always forget. Anyway, I said, well, Ursula, I'm on my way back to Newark. She said, well, one day I'm going to help you because I think you need to go to Europe. I was living in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm going to try to fast forward a little bit. Anyway, she sent me a check of $600 to Nashville, Tennessee. She said, I want you to go to Europe and audition for John Elliott Gardner. Didn't know who he was. Didn't make any difference. But I went and I missed the audition. I took the Northern Line in a completely different direction. So when I got back to the church, he and the Monteverdi Choir and orchestra, they had gone to France. And I thought, what on earth am I going to do? I can't go back to Ohio and tell her that I missed an audition with John Elliott Gardner. I just can't do it. So I said, I'm going to sing for someone in London before I leave. His name is Chris Robson. And he said, maybe it was a good thing that you missed that audition because you're not quite ready. I thought, quite ready for what? I thought I sang my butt off. Anyway, you said you're not quite ready. Fast forward, I met Max von Egmond at the Oberlin the Oberlin Baroque Institute. He invited me to study in Amsterdam. The year before that, I should have studied with Phyllis Bryn-Julson, but I studied with Dr. James McDonald at the University of Maryland. And eventually I did wind up in Amsterdam, and that's where I find where I got most of the training orally.
Mm-hmm.
All these musicians, there weren't too many singers in Holland that I kind of looked up to. You asked that question. By that time, Renee Jacobs was conducting. Paul Eswood and people like that, they were on their way out. James Bowman, he's still singing. God knows he's 76 years old, but what else can I tell you, Kenneth? What else would you like to hear?
Well, we can pause right there because I have another question that I'm so curious about. Because when I started high school, Mother Nature was very cruel to me. When I was a boy soprano coming in, and 2 weeks later, I was a baritone. Puberty hit me really, really hard.
Oh, wow.
I skipped everything in the middle. I was never an alto or a tenor. It just would drop Hail Mary down to where I am today. And so I wanted to ask you all, what were you before you were a countertenor, and how is it different from having a falsetto? Because when I was younger, when my voice did drop, I could still sing in my falsetto. I could not do a full opera or a full oratorio like you all can do because it would fatigue but I could pop out notes because I would imitate Leontine Price. I would do that, but I could never sustain it. Explain to the children out here what the difference is between having a falsetto and being a countertenor. Who wants to take that first? Oh, don't be shy.
Well, every man
has a falsetto voice,
has a head voice of a sort.
Yeah.
And whether it's refined and how it's utilized makes the determination of whether or not it falls into the realm of a legitimate sound.
Yeah.
If it doesn't meet the criterion of a legitimate sound, if it doesn't have balance and isn't seated a certain way, then we will continue to hear that as a falsetto as something other than his native self. There is the difference between our modal voices and our head voices, but each of us, I think, has found a way to navigate between our head voice and modal voice. Some of us use more than of one or than the other, but I think that's the Reader's Digest version of.
I got you. So, Patrick, how old were you when it happened? When you realized it in comparison to when you decided, now I'm a countertenor? What was that?
So that track for me was so part of the reason why Mr. Krim is just so important to me for many reasons, but he heard how I sang everything else. So as a little boy, even though like at NSA, National School of the Arts, and other spaces, I was singing as a tenor, everybody that I listened to imitated were the girls, were Aretha, was Whitney, was Patty, all of them. So as I'm singing Karen Clark Sheard songs and Aretha songs and all of that, I didn't realize it, but I'm developing a mix. I'm developing all of these things. I'm developing focus, singing all of that stuff. Like, that's how I was doing it. So he heard how I sang everything else and said, no, we're just going to match you. We're just going to put you where you naturally already sing. So it wasn't any. So if I start singing, The Preacher's Wife or, Whitney's I Will Always Love You, I'm doing that and I'm balancing it back and forth between voice and chest voice and mixing and all of those things, not even realizing it. So since he heard how I sang all that other stuff, I was probably 15 or 16 when he made the choice. When he really just said, that's it. And then, of course, around the same time I'm hearing Morgan, I'm like, okay, that's it. The thing is, in my solo voice study, I was singing countertenor. In choral singing at the school and other places, I was still a tenor. And that kind of kept me a little stalled because I'm bouncing back and forth between all of that. Like every day. Every day you're singing 5 different voices. And on the other side too, for many of us knowing how we grew up in the Black church, if there's a part missing in the choir, you jump in. And we did the same thing in Morgan. Like, I sang second soprano. If there wasn't a second soprano, I sang second tenor. I might have even sang baritone because there wasn't enough of them if something happened. So you end up popping. So you develop, we do. I think in many ways there is a development that happens for a lot of, particularly for Black singers, that we are able to kind of pop into these different spaces. But Mr. Krim also was very adamant about saying, make a choice. He said, make a choice in terms of technique, but he also make a choice in terms of style and genre. Him saying that was not necessarily to say you won't sing anything else. He was saying make a choice and define your technique, be very disciplined, and then that way, once you know what you're doing, you can then venture off to do everything else that you want to do. Because again, this is the man that made me a countertenor, but then I come back in the summertime to do a short Salama, and he has me singing Tony and West Side Story, a full tenor role. But by that time, the technique had solidified some more. So it was really just about the other side too. I think we'll get into some of that too. And of course, there's genius here, so they speak on it further. But one thing that he and all of us in many ways are really big on is that core bodied deep breathing support. Because of how you are singing, you are definitely going to need that, because we are not using the full, well, and for some of us, and I don't want to say all, but not fully using the full strength of the vocal folds.
Gotcha.
So you're going to want to be in the body. And that was a joke that we had at Morgan, being in the body. But it was like, oh, that's literally what I'm supposed to do. If I'm on this thing, honey, I can go. Yeah.
Well, with that, this is your first time on the show, but I have this thing that I do is called, I have the receipts. And this first receipt, thank you so much, Patrick, for sending it and sharing it. I've listened to it about 5-10 times. Ladies and gentlemen, here is evidence of what the young man just spoke about. Hold on to your wigs.
Lawyers
Sir, I'm over you.
That was beautiful.
I am just done with you, just done.
Lovely.
And I'm gonna put up some of these
Patrick.
comments because the folks in the room were
Patrick.
going crazy. Patrick, that was just
That was beautiful.
stunning. Absolutely so gorgeous. So
Losing
gorgeous.
it because like my idol just said that was beautiful. So excuse me while I go shout. Like
Right? Listen, the people.
You better
That was okay. And listen, guess we have another legend in the room. Watch this.
Oh, good gravy.
The Stephanie Blythe is loving on the Patrick.
Stephanie Blythe.
Love it. Patrick, that was stunning. Absolutely stunning. And your attention to text and detail and shading and color and all of that. Just so beautiful.
And I love the what he and Reggie, the movement that they're making to reclaim our spirituals as our early music and putting it in its just position.
Absolutely.
Very good. Bravo.
So fantastic. I want you all to talk about that as well. I saw a little clip of what you all were doing and what it's about, but I want you to educate the folks and get some support for it. Cortez, tell us, how old were you when this change happened? What were you before, and were you resistant to the change? How were you advised, and how did you get to the other side?
My voice broke probably when I was going into high school, so I was probably 14, 15 or so. And though it changed, I always had access to the top of my voice with great ease. And so I would always be trying to sing the soprano lines of Elijah Rock or Moses Hogan. I always wanted to sing all those avocados. I wanted to sing all that stuff. And so when I, like I said, when I got to Morgan is when I found out that being a countertenor was a possibility. It was something that you could do. And at the time I was sitting with David Neal, and he gave me a CD at that time in the process while I was studying tenor my first year. He says, well, you know, you've been showing me that you have this ease of access into the head register and it feels so much more comfortable for you. This is something you should consider. So he gave me a CD of David Daniels and said, this is something that you could do. Me, at the same time, I was actually studying in music history. We were learning stuff about castrati. I was like, what, you know, I was also so fascinated. Well, as we mentioned earlier, Derek Lee Reagan was the voice for Padronelli. And so all this just certainly like made things so much easier for me to decide, I think this is the best move for me. My voice is telling me that this is where you belong. This is what feels good to you. And so I did it full steam ahead. I got Dr. Carter to let me sing in the alto section officially in the choir, which, you know, as Dr. talked about having to navigate, well, I'm singing tenor now. And I was like, Doc, I am studying as a countertenor officially. I need to sing alto. So, yeah.
And there it was. Well, as you know, I have another receipt in my bag. Cortez, your voice is so beautiful. And I want to talk to you a little bit about your 14-year tenure in the legendary Chanticleer as well. But this clip is from an opera, and I want you to tell us a little bit about it after everybody fixes their wigs back because of its astounding beauty.
That's what we'd been told. So simple, so simple. It's been done before, We touched hands. We touched hands, and then we ran, we got for cats, we ran. No need for fear. They made it clear.
Sir, that was just so beautiful. So beautiful.
Just play the whole opera.
My God, talk to us about this opera, this role, when it came to you. I mean, tell the folks.
Yeah,
It was that bar. Oh, sorry.
yeah. I mean, it was
Jonathan Dove.
Jonathan Dove's opera. It came about as I said before. I was a young artist at Minnesota Opera ages ago, having some wonderful opportunities, getting a lovely training with them, and they wanted to do this opera, and they reached out to me saying, "Is this a possibility? Would you, be able to audition for it? Could scheduling work since I'm, currently in Chanticleer?" And so with, a little finagling, I was able to get out for the audition, and they offered me the role. And I mean, I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to do that before this country shut down. Because that was January of 2020.
Wow. So you just got it in.
Just got in because it was a huge hiatus from the opera world for me, and I'm so blessed for that opportunity to happen.
It's such a gorgeous performance, and it looks like a fantastic piece. I can't wait to see it in its entirety. But talk to me about what the difference is for you going into an opera role like that and your time at Chanticleer, which takes up a significant amount of your time because it's worldwide travel constantly.
Absolutely. The difference there for me was mainly getting back in tune with a stage production, having to do a lot of acting. I was a little bit, I was afraid, because I'm pretty much standard, and stationary with a score, or we're not, or if our pieces are memorized. So there was an element of being more dramatic that I had to revisit in doing that role, and so that was some of the fear that I had going into it. I certainly felt comfortable singing it. That was one of the things that came nice and easy for me. So I was like, yeah, thank God this role. It's not sitting too high. It sits in a good, good place. And so yeah, I mean that's the difference I would say.
It sounds like it's written for you, like it's right in the strike zone in that delicious part of your voice. My goodness. I'm so glad you shared that with me.
Congratulations.
You were able to be here tonight. My goodness. Yes, the folks in the room are just going in for y'all tonight. Reggie, talk to me, brother. When did your vocal switch happen? And did you make a conscious decision to do classical, sacred, oratorio as opposed to the operatic route on purpose? And if so, why?
I'll start in order then.
Okay.
So after my Oakwood experience, I went back to Florida University of Florida. And there I was studying with another Michigan grad, Jean-Renaud Lafond, who was there with David in George Hurley's studio.
And me, the round and over in the same studio.
And at that time in Florida, I also got roped into singing barbershop. And I sang in this barbershop quartet, a collegiate quartet, and they wanted me to sing the tenor line, which is the top line, which is basically an alto part. And every barbershop quartet I listened to, you know, the high tenor would always kind of sing full voice and kind of scream, and it was just horrible. There was no balance, and I just thought there has to be an easier way to do that. There has to be a musical way to sing that line without sounding like, you know, a mess. And so I basically just tried playing around with my falsetto, which I never did. I didn't use that much, but I did. And around that time, I really started to develop more and more of that mix, especially in the, you know, in the lower area, basically around middle C and above and middle C and below, and really building a core there, because that's where the tenor part existed. And so I sang that more and more and more and more and more. And it was 2 years later that my professor, Dr. Lafond, heard me singing in the hall and had me come up and sing for him. And he gave me David's first album, and that's what I listened to, and had that Kaiser Sose moment where I realized that all these women were not women. You know, Andrea Scholl wasn't just a very masculine looking, like, I thought that was Katie Lang, and a German Katie Lang. And I thought, that's a weird way to sing it. No. But no, that's
no.
And so it was like it all snapped into focus. You know, like when you got your first pair of glasses, everything you thought you could sort of see, you can now see in focus. Everything you thought you could sing, I can now sing in focus. Everything I felt, I could do. And from that point forward, I was a kid in the candy shop. If you know, I grew up in gospel and jazz. I sang gospel as an alto. I sang jazz and alto. I did musical theater. You know, in 2001, I left. 2002, I left and moved to Japan for a few years, and I worked for Tokyo Disney and sang in a barbershop quartet. And I sang in, you know, I sang at the Air Force Base there. I sang in jazz clubs around Tokyo, doing like, you know, sessions of torch songs. Ella sang and Sarah sang, and
come on now,
I did. And you know, I came back and went to Florida State University, studied with Roy Delp there, and he kind of molded me into what I am now. And it's, you know, it's just the path that I'm on. You know, God had it set, and that's where I'm going. And wherever I go next, that's where I'll be.
I love it. I love it. I love your singing and cannot wait to explore some more and hopefully work with you, even though Bach still scares me, but we're going to do something together. But get into this performance, y'all. It's such a gem. It's so, 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 so beautiful.
Live and thrive so well below. Please
I can't. Like,
Beautiful, Reggie.
what is happening? Like, can he write 5 more verses of that? I did not want you to stop singing. I did not want you to stop
Stunning.
singing. That was so
Stunning.
freaking stunning.
Thank you.
Like, for real.
For real, for real.
That was beautiful.
Like, it's so seamless.
Yeah.
From top to bottom and everything in the middle. And it got seasoning on Laurie's and everything. Oh my gosh.
Stop.
Oh my god, that was
Oh, God.
so okay. The people in the chat are going crazy. Let me put some. Some
I
of these-
really love how
Ken.
you pepper in your modal voice, and then you say, "Now, in case you didn't catch it, let me show it to you a few times," and kind of do some comparison and contrast.
Absolutely, my goodness. And so, Reggie and Patrick, talk to me about this project that you both are involved in, and bringing into focus that spirituals are early music, and how you're combining the use of these traditional early musical instruments with the spiritual and with your voices. Talk to the folks about it and how they can support this initiative that you all are involved in.
Well, go ahead, Reggie.
I guess, yeah, sure, I can start. I thought about this in a few years ago. Actually, in 2018, I recorded an album with this small Baroque group in San Francisco, Agave Baroque, and it was a project that I wanted to put together, and it was basically the music of 17th century German music of composers based around the 30 Years' War, because 2018 was the 400th anniversary of the beginning of the 30 Years' War. And for some reason, it was years later, it was maybe last year or earlier this year, that I really thought about the fact that the people in Germany at that time had been so affected by this war. Obviously, the 30 Years' War was so horrible that it affected, Bach and people in Germany, generations after. And the fact that during that time, though everything, there was nothing but fear and death and sorrow, what they were able to cling to was music. Schütz was able to write music. Cello wrote music. Schütz, Schein, the Bachs, like they all wrote music that kind of reflected and showed that connection through music to experience of life and contextualizing life. And of course, in the 1600s, there was also something going on in America. In 1619, obviously the first slave ship hit Jamestown. And I realized that at that same time that we're focusing on the music of Bach and the music of Handel and Monteverdi, we were singing music too. And we were also contextualizing horrors and sorrows and pains. And just as, even more so than what the Germans may have dealt with, because it's personal to me, I say that, but we were dealing with it too. And we contextualized it, and music became integral into who we are as people. That's why, what American music is, no matter what vein you follow, whether it be ragtime, jazz, and pop, and electronic, whether it be, following, Burley's path and Florence Price, what we created here is American music. It's our music. It's early music. It's our first music, and we made it. It's ours, and we have a claim to that. And I started saying that more and more and more, and talking to Patrick, who also had the same idea. And we've just been talking to whoever we can, shouting it from every hilltop, every tweet box, saying early spirituals is early music. It's time to stop putting the music of people of color into this box of ethnomusicology, which is racist. This is musicology. This is music history. This is ours. And so we're really pushing really hard to get people to realize, and get universities, get everyone to understand that this is part of who we are as people, and this is how we can better connect with each other.
Fantastic. My goodness. Congratulations. And if you ever need a lowly baritone to sing on something with y'all, a spiritual or 10, just give a brother a call. Because spirituals are my thing, baby. They really are. I love them so much. Thank you for sharing that. I also wanted to ask you, Oh, yes. Everybody, this is Counter-Tenor Day. So everybody out there, as you're watching this show, remember, we have to go and vote for John Holiday
Yes.
on The Voice. Yes, he's a finalist,
Yes.
and we need to go and vote. Countertenors are doing it, and they're doing it everywhere, huh?
Yes.
And especially the black ones, baby, as you can see on my screen. That's what we do. So make sure y'all go and vote for John Holiday on tonight, and vote 5, 10 times. All your electoral college votes that you got, put them on John's name, huh? So, and what a coincidence to have this show, because I was putting this show together for a couple of weeks. We didn't know John was going to be in the finals on this day, so it's a quite fantastic coincidence, and so good vibes for John. Come on, John. All right, so I want to talk about this exclusive club that you all are in. Can you tell me the names of other Black countertenors out there that the world needs to know about that are not on this screen right now?
When you mentioned John.
Yes, John Holiday.
Brennan Hall, wonderful singer.
Yes.
G. Thomas Allen, phenomenal. I mean, he's a phenomenon among.
Yes.
He's a Morganite.
Yes, indeed.
I actually had a list somewhere of so many like Black countertenors.
Kimon Mara.
Yes.
Yeah,
oh my God.
We forget Key.
He was supposed to be with us today, but he's being famous right now. He has a big competition.
Yes. Cadavian's last name.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Blown away.
That's all right.
Where is he at? Cadavian Taylor.
Cadavian.
Yes.
Cadavian
Taylor.
Right. Cadavian Taylor.
Also, he's an ancestor now, but I want to shout out Matthew, our dear brother Matthew Truth.
Well, yes, and I'm so glad you said that, because we are coming up on 2 weeks to the year that he left us much too soon, and he was a very, 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 very dear,
lovely man,
friend of mine, and lovely man. And I'm actually, when I look this way, I'm looking on his faces on the side of my refrigerator. I have his gorgeous program from his funeral on my refrigerator. So I see Matthew every day. I adore him. And I wanted to pay tribute to him and share a little bit of his music with you all tonight. So we love you, Matthew, and we miss you dearly. Oh,
Yeah, beautiful.
that's my friend. That's my friend. I miss him so much. Who I said I wasn't gonna cry today. Put him back, push back, push back, push back. All right. So we love you,
That was
Matthew. We miss
beautiful.
you
So
Matthew.
beautiful.
so much. And thank you to Chris Cooley for arranging that for him and putting that video together so that we could have that forever and ever. So, Daryl, will you tell us, sir? You touched on something that I wanted to get into about you couldn't find a manager as a countertenor and that you had aged out of the competition circuit. How did you navigate that, and why do you think that is? Because you're brilliant. Do you think why do you think that is?
Okay, so the issue is that there are few opportunities for countertenors and a plethora of really, really well prepared countertenors available for them. So a few countertenors are getting almost all of the work. And so management has, they have the responsibility of getting work for you, and they want to get paid. They don't want to just have you sitting there. And so oftentimes management just won't even schedule an audition, will not even schedule an audition, don't want to hear you. And when I personally, for my, just anecdotally, when I would get a foot into a door of a house that does represent early music, or they would ask me, well, why haven't I heard of you? And I said, well, I don't know why you haven't heard. Have you been in a hospital?
I hate that. I hate that phrase. I really, really do. That phrase now has started to anger me.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Why haven't we heard of you, or where have you been? I've been pounding the pavement.
I've been
doing what I need to do. You just decide not to go and look beyond the surface.
Yes.
Well, what I have
to
not been doing is waiting on you to come and find me. I've been doing my work, and here's the body of work that I've established. And it, unfortunately for me, I found myself in academia at the same time as I was making this transition. And I say that unfortunately because it becomes kind of a golden handcuffs. You have this comfort, and through 9/11, through the Great Recession, through a myriad of uncertainties, I've had stability, and that's what I wanted. I was very, very grateful to have it. But then when you want to go out and perform, then you have to negotiate how that's going to happen. And management does not want to hear. They don't want to hear that you got some teaching to do. You better be gone for that month that they want, and the next month, and the next month after that. As long as they have you on the dole, they want you to be producing for them. And it's a very delicate balance to strike. I think I've done a pretty good job of representing myself largely, but it's just difficult. And here's the other thing. So coming to the countertenor voice, I started out singing gospel in Detroit, and when I was in high school, I was put into the select chorus. And the very first thing we rehearsed had a high A piano. Now I could sing high A, B, C, D, whatever you wanted, but it was going to be loud. I was accustomed to being the tenor section. So when people started talking about me having a small voice, I said, "Are you kidding?" I've sung gospel and sung it over the Hammond Orchestra without amplification. Thank you very much.
Right.
But I could not sing softly, and so I was ashamed of that, and I went to go and navigate that by myself. And as someone mentioned, Price was my beacon. I started imitating Price. But we are the only Fach who has when you make this decision, you have to then confront the whole idea of sexuality. There is not one soprano, not one mezzo, one contralto. Oh, Gladys Knight can go out and sound like Barry White. We do not question her sexuality.
Not at all.
Men, when we have some sort of legitimate sound, some footing of our sound, suddenly everyone said, "Oh, you sound like a woman." Well, does Tina Turner sound like a man? No, no one would ever say that. Does Smokey Robinson sound like a woman? No, no one would say that, because Smokey Robinson doesn't have the same footing that we as countertenors establish. And that then becomes a whole other really, it's a minefield that we have to navigate and we have to negotiate. Every concert that when we open up our mouths, we know that there are going to be some people that are not going to be informed, and they're going to have to have their own come to Jesus moment with that about how they're going to deal with that. I had someone come up to my very first concert. I was doing Agnus Dei in the B minor mass, and this alto came up to me afterwards. She said, "I told my whole family to come and hear you, and I told them, now don't laugh." I said, "Was there something comical about to happen?" "Well, I don't get the joke. What's going on?" Because if you're talking about my voice, clearly there must be Tourette's in your family, because there's only going to be beauty here.
Okay, I know that's and I'm glad you said that, because that segues me right into my next receipt that I pulled out of my bag. Now, Daryl, when I have to tell you, when you sent me 3 options, and the one that I chose was the first one that was in your list, and I never looked at the other 2. Because the first one was so incredibly brilliant and stunning. And I want to talk to you about your advocacy as it relates to the piece that I chose. Good God Almighty.
Beautiful.
Daryl, listen, you had the whole world right here in the palm of your hand. On every word, that line, those dynamics, those colors, that stage presence, the confidence of it, the beauty of it, the vulnerability of it, that is artistry. And I thank you for that. My
That was
God.
beautiful. Yeah.
Now, any manager worth his or her salt that saw or heard something like that and was not in your dressing room with a contract and a pen is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. That was stunning artistry. Y'all better get into it.
Thank you.
fix your lives.
But beautiful.
Can I tell you one last thing? I learned Akhenaten. In 7 days, I learned the entire roll of Akhenaten and performed it, memorized. I memorized and performed Akhenaten with no rehearsal with the orchestra. My first time with the orchestra was on stage.
Oh God.
I thought for sure, and I got big notices. I thought this is it. I mean, the audience lost their minds.
Yes.
I heard collective crickets after that. I said, Akhenaten. I learned the whole daggone thing in 7 days. So yeah, what can you say?
And listen, I saw Akhenaten and I couldn't learn it in 7 years. Listen, that's some hard stuff. That's hard stuff. I would love to hear you sing that score. Absolutely love to hear you sing that score. And so now I want to talk to you, Daryl, about the African American Art Song Alliance and how it started. What brought you to being a champion, the champion of African American art song?
Oh boy, you know, that's a long story. So
give us Reader's Digest.
I'll give you the digest version of it.
Okay.
I wound up at Michigan. I told you about my first voice teacher telling me to study works by Black composers. I wound up at Michigan, and George Shirley had a plethora of choices in his library, and I also knew Willis Patterson. Willis Patterson was my doctoral advisor. I took a independent study with him on African American art song, and I wrote a 30-page paper. And as he advocated for me to get it published, I did get it published through the Nats Journal, and that the information contained therein became, I wanted to put that out online. This is about in 95 or so. And I also went to school with Louise Toppin, and Louise had shared a ton of her repertoire with me. And it was in that spirit that Louise and I kind of convened we congressed together and said, we can do more together than we can do apart. And so the idea of the African American Art Song Alliance was born because of just wanting to get information disseminated online. We now have about 5,000, in excess of 5,000 people engaged on our Facebook discussion group. And I convene a conference on African American art song every 5 years. We've done 3 of them. We did it in 2007, 2012, and 2007, 2012, 2017. And the next one is scheduled, COVID allowing, and it looks like it's looking very, very hopeful that we'll be able to go ahead and have that for February of 2022.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And thank you for your work, and thank you for that work. And
I'm expecting Kenneth Overton to be in Irvine in 2022.
He will be there. He will be
and
there.
All my Counter-Tenor brethren.
Yes.
That would be something to have all of y'all there. Amazing.
Down the street.
I'm there. Adolphus and I are working on a song cycle for me, so maybe we can premiere it there.
You been learning to count?
It's just for me. Just for me. So now, Mr. Derek Lee Reagan, sir.
Yes, sir.
When I was putting this panel together, all of the guys were so excited that you were going to be part of it. And I honestly was floored that you said yes to my Facebook DM. I slid into his DMs and I was like, I know you don't know me from a can of paint, but would you please onto the show and bless the folks? And everybody was so excited to hear and see that you were going to be with us. So thank you for being here, and thank you for
You're very welcome. I'm enjoying this.
Your decades of greatness. So will you tell us, because for me, you are the one. You are the face of countertenorism, period, but definitely the face of Black countertenors.
Yeah.
But I would say just in general. Because when I hear you sing, I'm like, well, that's the answer. That's it. Like, what else you need? What else you want? What else is there to say?
Great.
So can you bring us into this amazing A-list high class career that you made for yourself in somewhat uncharted territory, being a Black man that did it and that is doing it?
Kenneth, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
When I look back, sometimes the memory gets so bad as you get older. You know that, you guys. And I look back and I think, how on earth? Because I feel like there weren't that many African Americans, except for George Shirley, who helped me at the University of Maryland. There weren't a lot of people around. I didn't have a lot of people, so I thought, John L.A. Gardner said to me, you have this wonderful sense of coloratura. He didn't say anything about legato singing. He just said, man, you're the king of coloratura. And I said, oh, okay. That was 35 years ago. That was my first recording. I said, what are you talking about? He said, I want you to sing Tamarlano on this recording. I said, but I've never recorded like this before. What are you talking about? So I feel like someone like John Elliott, who trusted me as an African American, that was unusual 35, 40 years ago. Again, there was no one around. I didn't have people to say, well, what should I do? Unlike you, Darryl, an agency took me on, but they hadn't had a countertenor on that list for about 25 years. It was Russell Oberlin. Russell Oberlin. So when I joined in
now, where was that agency? Was that in America or abroad?
It started here in New York, and then eventually, once you get into the business, you have the local management. So, and this wonderful, Ann Colbert, German, she just said, "Look, we're gonna take you on, but at this moment, we don't know what to do with you."
Right.
And I said, "If you don't know what to do, I don't know what to do." We're talking about 1982. So again, I had to think to myself, I've heard some advice from Phyllis Bryn Jules, and she goes, "You know what, Derek? I want you to go home and learn every single Bach cantata." I said, "What?" Just do it. Sorry, the alto solos, not all of the alto solos. I did that. And she said, "I want you to learn one more opera, Gluck so Fail." And I said, "Why, Phil?" She said, "Nope, just do it." Thank God, because I was able to record it 15 years later. And because of all the wonderful people in Washington, and I don't know, I can't even remember the name of the groups. What's the name of the group in Washington, guys? Patrick McQueen. No, the Bach group.
Bach Consort? Washington Bach Consort?
Yeah, Washington. That's right. All those years ago. That's right. So was able to join them with the knowledge that I had, including the works with John Elliott, and I could go on, the list goes on and on and on. So I got guidance from them, but not from a vocalist, is what I'm trying to say. It's from lots of instrumentalists, and having this powerful management who said, once you can get started, we have a way of making things happen. But first, so I want to say that with John L.A. Gardner and Renee Jacobs, who put me on a path, I thought maybe this is what I need to do, because they keep saying, I want you to record Handel. I didn't know anything about Handel. Eventually I did. I went home and just sat down. I didn't know anything about Italian. I thought, oh boy, I better learn now. And I go back to a soprano friend of mine, Carmen Balthorpe, who first heard me in Venice. She goes, "You're not fluent in this language, but what I want you to do, I want you to go back to your hotel. I want you to write this text out over and over again. You don't need any sleep." He said, "You're only 22. But over and over again, when you get to that rehearsal, you will know all of those words. No matter what they're saying back to you, just do what I say." I said, "What do you mean, Carmen? Just do it." I did it. Got to the rehearsal. Christopher Hogwood said, "Wow." It was amazing. But so I had a few people, but not, you had George Shirley to go back, Carmen Balthorpe, and that was about it. So in all of the coloratura, like you guys, I mimic Joan Sutherland, I mimic Leontine Price, but for the coloratura, it was always Joan Sutherland. I said, I will sing coloratura like her one day.
All right. Listen, well,
What?
not only do you do that, but you do it brilliantly. When you told me the clip that you wanted me to play and I went and listened to it, my head about exploded. And everybody, if y'all had a wig on and it came off before, you're going to need to like glue that girl down, all around, glue down, because this...
And keep this in mind. This is my first major recording. And this is with John L.A. Gardner at the front. And I had to make an impression, in 2 weeks.
An impression.
I did in Lyon, just, not having done this before. So I would stay up, God knows, all night.
Yeah.
With Michael Chan saying, a little bit more there. So I had people around me, Nancy Argenta. These guys had done a bit of opera before, but again, not being exposed to this in my own country.
Yeah.
I didn't have the assistance that I needed.
And do you think it's because America is a little bit behind in celebrating the music that lends itself to your voice or voices so brilliantly? Europe tends to embrace the Baroque, the coloratura, and all of that a little bit more than American houses. Do you think that that's a reason, or are there other reasons?
I'll say that one more. Say it one more time.
Do you think it's because America in general is a little bit behind in their embracing of the Baroque operas and the coloratura operas, especially as they pertain to countertenors?
Before I answer that question, don't you think we're a bit behind, period? When you think about all the singers out there.
We behind on so much. We behind on so much. We 400 years behind, just behind.
Exactly.
Well, the same colorism, the same racism that attends to other voice types attends to countertenors, and so the exclusion, the fact that Derek could strike without any precedent. There was no precedent. There was none.
Yeah.
In history that we can.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
And that's the amazing thing. So, you dove right in and just took the baton and ran. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And and like you said, Daryl, every voice part has their issues, but I think you all carry a harder burden, and I want to talk about that a little bit later.
Can I just say one more thing, Kenneth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I wonder if you all agree. There's and I say this to some younger countertenors. You know what? You can sing that high C and hold it out, and all this, but one of these days that's going to drop. We don't have repertoire we can change to. A lot of people, you feel bass, they change repertoire, the mezzos, the sopranos, do this and that. And I think, and I say to the young, I said that you have to have something else ready to do, because when you're 40, 55, that voice is going to do some strange things, and you need a plan B now. The pandemic showed us one thing, but academia, Darryl, it was great. I wish I had gone back to it. So it's tricky without a management. Like you were saying, it's tricky out there now. So you need a plan B in case you don't get that opportunity. Some of us were lucky enough to have that.
Well, and the other thing that is a special limitation for our Fach that doesn't attend to others is that the lion's share of our repertoire is either this early Baroque or it's very contemporary. And so the thing that puts butts in the seats is the Puccini and the stuff that people know, and the stuff that the donors will give more money for. Oftentimes it's the stuff that we're not considered. Now there are exceptions, of course. I think Cortez, you sang
Caterino.
yeah, Carabino, and those are exceptions. But we can't go in. If I went in and auditioned with Carabino, people would look at me very, very quizzically, saying, "Well, now that's very interesting that you think of yourself in that way." And there are some voices that are hired. We're not polemic. There are voices that we have some that do coloratura better, some that are just really. I mean, listen to what John Holiday does. John has this metal in his lower middle that is very, very uncommon for countertenors. It's not a regular sort of thing. If we all start being measured against that measuring stick and say, okay, every countertenor has to sound like this, well, that's so unfair, because we don't do that to any other voice type. We don't say, if you're a soprano, you have to sound like Callas, or else there's no place for you. No, you can be your own authentic self.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Derek, this is authentic as it gets. Yes. And I was blown away by it. And I'm still trying to figure out how you managed to do what you did in this clip. Hold on, everybody.
già saggi del cor, già saggi del cor.
Look, good night. Thank you, everybody.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Good night.
You guys,
Good night.
Can I say something?
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the bar.
That is the bar. Can I say something though?
I couldn't keep the sound.
Oh my god! Like I just have to say something really quickly, and I would kick myself if I don't say this, but I have to say, and I know everybody will say it in their own way, but I just got to say thank you, because you are the standard and have been the light and the beacon that like you stepped into the places that we didn't step into and created the spaces so that we can do everything that we do. I actually and you just put up a quote, put up Patrick McQuay, because I had to shout him out because you did it. He had an interview with you in EMA, and I just wanted he included me in that interview.
Yes, sir.
And just to talk about how everything that you did, you know, just again set the standard, became the standard, defined what this is, and then had the nerve and the gall to be your authentic full self and to show up and, you know, with Moses Hogan and singing those spirituals and singing those songs is the reason why I can say for myself, I had no fear when I said I'm gonna pick this stuff up and do this. So thank you. I have to say that.
Thank you.
And Derek, I want to show you something.
You.
I just had to run out and grab it. So you talked about how John Elliott gave you like all this encouragement early, like years ago. I mean, the last time I was in London, he gave me this disc. He gave me this copy and said, "You need to know more Derek Reagan. You need to know. He is the one." This is like a year.
Is that right?
You were still like, you were a legend.
Sir, I'm lost for words. How do you even begin to learn how to do that? Like the clarity, it's not just about the speed, but it's the clarity of it and the seamlessness from top to bottom and everything in the middle. Like I could see the notes as you were singing them. Like they weren't slurred or blurry. I could see them.
You please stop. Yes. Do most of you have training as a do you play an instrument, all of you? Some of you do. You said
trumpet.
Daryl?
Well,
you said you played the trumpet.
I played cello, and all of us have we play piano in college, but
yes,
not like that. Dag on it.
Well, why did I mention the piano?
Listen,
because it helped me learn coloratura.
There you go.
I can't really explain that. I can relate to an instrumental sound.
Yeah, the clarity of it.
Exactly, and I mimicked that.
Yeah,
and then prayed. Did what I just said.
You know, I want to co-sign what Patrick said. I wanted to co-sign what Patrick said, and especially because not only did you walk into a place that nobody had been, but you walked in there prepared, and you walked in there with a great work ethic, and you left good feelings with everybody. And everybody that came after the fact, we can hold our head high because of the standard that you established. You didn't salt the earth behind you. You didn't leave a bad taste in anybody's mouth. Say, oh, but don't hire a black countertenor because after all, look at what Derek Lee Reagan did. No, we can say no. You need to take a chance on black countertenors because look at what Derek Lee Reagan did.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you, all of you.
Like what you did should be listened to in all of music history classes and Baroque classes. Like the children need to know. They need to know who you are living history.
I have a short story to tell you. This is amazing. This is back at Oberlin in Music History 101. So I'll never forget. I felt that I had never had music history before. I went back 15 years later, and Mr. Sussman said, "Oh, it's you. We've got your CD. We play it now. I thought, so you can fail the music history course. As soon as you have that same man, he said, and look at him now. Mr. Suskin, never forget it. It was great. He's like, you failed my class. I said, no, he said, I've got your CD here now. I said, oh, that's so sweet.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, fellas, we're all about manifestation here. So I want to ask each of you, what is it that musically, artistically, that you have not done that you want to do and come to fruition? Whether it be a certain role or a role that's not been written of a character that you want to bring to life, or a certain work or oratorio or concert series that you want to. What do you want? What do we need to put out into the atmosphere for the Black countertenors?
If I may, because I think about this a lot. In fact, she's been up here a couple of times, but shout out to the Big Sis Karen Slack. I often talk about sometimes we look at the roles that are out there for Black countertenors, right? I'm also very big, as those who know me, if you follow me on Facebook, Instagram, I've been Black all day. I'm Black 24/7 forever. I want everything Black. And so I really would like to see more Black composers writing. Yes, I've had the pleasure. My good brother Dave Ragland has written stuff for me. My good brother Colin Lett has written stuff for me, and a few others. I've had the privilege of premiering and international premiering roles. Cool. I would love to see that more so by Black composers as well. Part of the thing, though, that I've talked about with Karen when we did a thing recently was how it's often about the stories that are there, the narratives, right? So shout out to Opera Philadelphia for doing We Should Not Be Moved. But a lot of times within the American Western scope of what is new opera, those Black stories, quote unquote, don't fit the narrative of, hey, bestie, of putting a countertenor in that space. Because we're also often retelling the same old stories over and over again, right? Yeah. And I would love us if we could. Akhenaten is a great example. Shout out to to Philip Glass. However, seeing stories of ancestry from our ancestors in the folklore, like in the indigenous and in the African folklore around the world, is something I would love to see abroad. Now, I would say personally, I actually made my UK debut singing Hassa. I sang Marc Antonio and Marc Antonio Cleopatra. Hassa. That was my UK and South American debut. I have yet to sing a Handel opera. Sung plenty of Messiah. I've sung Bach cantatas, all of those things. I have yet to sing a Handel opera. I've sung. I sang Cavalli. My West Coast operatic debut with Pacific Opera Project was Cavalli. It was La Callisto. Lindimione. I sung Lindimione and the other one, the Dope Boy, whatever. I've sung both of those. I've yet to sing Handel opera. So that's something I know I still want to conquer. But that's it. Okay.
Be careful what you ask for, because Handel is he didn't write no 2-minute arias.
Did not. Because I sing Cara Sposa, and I was looking at that the other day because I'm so used to doing it in auditions, and I was like, oh yeah, so when I go audition, you sing the B section, and then you sing the A, and then go back to the capo, all the things that I have, the notes and the floats and cool. I went through it the other days. I was like, you know what? Let me sing through the whole thing. I said, oh baby, oh girl, oh honey, okay, back up on it, honey. Okay, you got all of that to go. So it is. So it's a challenge. Definitely. I'm putting that out there. We're gonna meet it.
Yes, indeed. What about you, Reggie?
It's pretty simple. There's a few Bach cantatas I haven't sung yet. A few, and that's about it. Other than that, I guess I'm really so interested in. I want to see someone do more to explore the kind of the spiritual and stylistic connection between Baroque music and jazz. I want to see more people really kind of focus on that. There's a few groups, in Canada, and there's a group I'm gonna do a project with in California, that really are getting into it. But I think because of our background, because of who we are, we're kind of that link between both worlds. And it might be on us to really start exploring that spiritual connection, which also lends a bit more credence to just one, how much actual spirit and power there is in Baroque music, but also how incredible and well composed and how perfect the music that we created and grew up with is as well. So I think that's something I want to dig more into and get more opportunities to explore. That and Bach, and that's basically it.
Gotcha. What about you, Cortez? What you want to do?
You know, I would like to, similar to Rex, I would like to do some Bach. I haven't had that sort of a lot of concert experience. Some Bach, cantatas, and stuff like that is something that I think I would enjoy quite a bit.
Yeah, Daryl.
I've done a lot of the stuff on the recording end of things. I think probably what's left for me to do is to go back entirely to my roots, not just to spirituals, but to do something in gospel. Because I knew Tommy Whitfield was a friend of mine. I sang with James Cleveland. I sang with Donald Vales. I have that as my training, which I always have had to set aside. It would be interesting to see how I would navigate that, in a Karen Clark world. I mean, I don't think that it would be that. I don't think it would be any. And there are those that do it exceptionally well. And so, if I were to do something like that, I would want to do it with my own stamp but I've also thought of I have a concept that I put in front of a few composers of a one-man opera on the life of W.B. Du Bois. I think that it's not a stretch for me to look like W.B. Du Bois, and the fact that he, in the Souls of Colored Folk, he has to speak to various different kinds of people, and that he knew how to speak in different places. It kind of speaks to my voice and the height of my voice and the depth of my voice and the flexibility that I could bring to it artistically.
Fantastic. And what about you, Derek? What's next?
What's next? I'm going to share this with you because I've never shared this with anyone before. Not even my other half, not even my partner. It would be a great honor if I found a way to collaborate with someone as being in the business as a manager, because I think this is what we're talking about. We lack African American management from concert halls. You don't. That may happen, but the manager is where it needs to happen. I would collaborate with someone tomorrow.
Wow!
I think I have a great ear. Before Brian Ozawa died, he was doing that. You guys know that, don't you?
Right.
That's right. I don't know what happened, but he loved that too. I think I would love. I think I have the ear to go out there and hire good singers. About the instrumental bit, but just
absolutely.
I would collaborate.
We need that because there are none. There are no black managers.
I can't think of one in New York. Is there one in California?
No.
Yeah.
Greg Shepard is managing.
Yes.
I would say Greg Shepard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Greg Shepard. Okay, where's he located?
He's in New York.
Oh wow.
But Greg Shepard is the only one I know. That's it.
Management is a tremendous idea, and it's a necessary idea because we need advocacy inside of the room.
Well, and David Lee Brewer has a management agency in Europe, but not domestically.
Right. So, Derek, we're gonna manifest that and make it real.
We have to.
Because listen, people would take your phone call. These orchestras would take your phone call.
That is hugely important.
Yes.
You're right, Darryl.
Derek Lee Reagan's on the line. Whoop, sir. Yes. Absolutely. Well, sign me up. I'll do
hired. I'm
already putting together the email to you. So
that's fantastic. because all these gentlemen need to be managed and out in the front and just doing it. Like really, all of you.
Kenneth, this
Yes,
is
sir.
I've never been in a situation like this where I'm actually looking at 5 African American men singers ever. This is what I'm
Wow.
talking about.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have. I haven't, and I long for that. And thank you for making this happen.
I'm so glad you were available to do it. And it's so important to me because, you know, I was talking to my friend Karen about making the documentary and the fact that, you know, the 6 people that we're profiling, and before Miss Norman passed away, she was going to be a part of it as well. But we wanted to talk to the ones that were still alive and to hear their stories from their mouths. But I don't want another generation of Black singers to go by where we only have 6 names that we know at the drop of a hat.
That's right.
Because there's so many of us that do so many wonderful, incredible, brilliant, and beautiful things. And everybody has a story and everybody has a voice. And so your first recourse should not always be Marian Anderson and Leontine Price. When you say, name me a Black opera singer or name me an opera singer, period. It shouldn't just be Pavarotti and Kahlo. It should be all of our names. You know, and so I want to break that narrative down and do away with it because those 6 people shouldn't, you know, just bear the brunt of the weight on their shoulders for holding up the bloodstained banner for Black opera singers, because there's so many of us that can relieve that weight for them if given the opportunity.
I hear you.
And I think
You know what's happening now. Now you have a generation that don't even know who Leontine Price and Jesse Norman are.
Ooh, bite their tongues.
No, they no.
My God. I think I would faint on sight if somebody said that to me. Like, just die or slap them. Like one or the other.
That happened to me teaching a diction class. I was teaching a diction class, and I was thinking about the O vowel, and inside of my head, I had this narrative of Price and then voce, and so I kind of got lost in the moment, and then I realized, oh, there's a class here, and I said, oh, I'm sorry, I was thinking about Price, and then there was this glass over. This was in the 90s, mind you. There was this glassed over sense of it's you do know the Stradivarius of voices. No, they had never heard of Price. I said, oh no. Herein begins the lesson. Let's start talking about who are the singers that you cannot leave this room without knowing their names and knowing how to spell it, and so that you can go and do some searches on them.
Listen,
but you know, and also to that. But I want to say the point though too. You know, and my focus is so often on the Black singers, particularly at HBCUs, and I've been privileged to go and like masterclass and mentor and work with kids at all sorts of schools all over the place. Even some of the schools that don't get seen, right? So we hear of Morgan, woo, we're proud, but and Morehouse and Spelman and so many others, but we don't always get to hear of the Stillmans and the Rusts and the Tougaloo's and, you know, the Wiley colleges and all of these other places. And they definitely need to be sort of guided and grafted and helped to learn of who our folks are, because the other question that often comes up, everybody keeps saying, you know, well, where are the Black opera singers? And like, where are these people? Where are the talent? They're trying to find it. And I'm like, there are 101, 105 schools. If you went and invested in those schools and, you know, and ensured that there were some people who there, because also the thing is, we're not dealing with the same type of resources. We're not dealing with, you know, having a vocal faculty that's really large. We're not dealing with having, you know, multiple pianists on site. We're not dealing with doing full scale productions regularly. So what we have to do is ensure not only do we prepare those students within the HBCU to go to the top conservatory or PWI, what have you, but also ensuring that they are prepared within their own space. My biggest thing is with my students is when they leave out, I want them to have options to do whatever they want, and ensuring that they know the elders, they know the ancestors, they know the big brothers and the big sisters. You know, I remember like I kind of like when I was coming up, even at Morgan, I like Facebooked all of the singers. Like Kenny didn't know me from a bag of paint, but I was like, "Hi, I'm your friend. Oh, I see that you're working. Hi, Karen, I'm your friend. Hi, Larry, I'm your friend. Hi, I'm going to add all of y'all. I don't really know you, but also ensuring that is not the only way that we have to do it completely by ourselves. That's going to be a big step in ensuring that these other generations know the names and also know their stories, so they can really build on top of it.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like I'm so tempted to send every young singer I know to go study Bach with Reggie. Like for real. Like I need a lesson. I need a Bach lesson, Reggie. I need you to teach me how to do what you do, because it's just incredible. Incredible, and everybody needs to know who you are. Everybody needs to know who you are. Well, fellas, I have some fun, quick fire questions to end our time together, because we've been here for over 2 hours.
I know.
It doesn't feel like it, but we've been here for over 2 hours. And so I like to end my interviews with some fun questions. And so just give me the first answer that comes to your mind. And like I said, this is a free show, so say what you mean and mean what you say. All right, just random. Let's go in order of Daryl, Cortez, Patrick, Reggie, and Derek. All right. Okay. What is other than your own, what is your favorite voice type?
Well, soprano. I mean, the rep for soprano. I mean, I love tenor, but the rep for soprano and the range of colors that you can hear from it. Yeah. And how can you come away from Price and not love soprano voice?
Cortez?
Yeah, color specific. Like I just want high. I need high Fs for days. I need that.
Okay, Patrick.
I would say I love sopranos, yes, but I have my studio is kind of everybody. I love sopranos, but I really love teaching tenors. I just think yeah.
Wow, because they're a strange breed. I thought if I ever taught anybody, it would never be a tenor. Sorry, tenors, I just can't.
It's fun. I like it a lot.
Difficult.
Mercy God. What about you, Reggie?
Can I say viola? How about that?
Listen.
Viola Davis?
Honestly, it's baritone. There is a warmth and a power. There's a versatility that lies in that voice.
Thank you.
There's a reason why Bach made him the voice of God. The baritone is it for me.
And there you have it. Derek?
Mine won't be in classical music. Mine would be Dolly Parton and Chaka Khan.
Come on now.
That sound.
Yes.
I like that combination. Which is, I love it. And then Dolly Parton with that little vibrato.
I just want to hear Shaka sing the Dolly Parton songbook. Wouldn't that be something?
Yes.
And if Dolly sang Through the Fire.
Oh, you stop. To
the limit, to the wall.
Come on, Dolly. I love it. All right.
She might do it. The gag.
She might listen. Or she'll write something else and get somebody else to record it, because she knows that Whitney Houston money, baby. Listen, she knows. So, same order. Is there a favorite country and or city that you've particularly enjoyed visiting?
Well, I mean, anyone that's followed me on social media knows mine is my jam is Barcelona.
Wow,
she's a beauty.
Yes.
Cortez?
Amsterdam.
That's mine. Come on, Amsterdam. Patrick?
Ghana. It's the most I felt the most at home ever going to Ghana.
Wow.
It was the most at home I've ever felt.
I've never stepped foot on the continent. That's my dream, to step foot on the
Shame
continent.
life.
Reggie?
Wow.
I was lucky to live in Tokyo, and so Japan is home to me. It really is. Like I've never been more at home than I was in Japan. But as far as like my favorite place other than that, Malta. Easily Malta.
Really?
Wow.
Ooh,
Can you say something in Japanese for us?
Hi, Scotia. What do you want to Reiji desu.
What does that mean?
My name's Reggie.
Wow. Amazing. Derek?
Here.
Mine would be Istanbul, but Do you mean to perform or just to visit?
Either.
Just visiting. Istanbul.
Fantastic. I've never been to Istanbul. Wow.
Gorgeous, you guys.
What are you, a breakfast, brunch, lunch, dinner, or dessert person? Daryl?
Brunch for me. I love breakfast foods.
Just not as early.
I'm not an early riser. I'm coffee at about 8 or 9, but then I'll lay into some brunch.
Yeah. Cortez?
Breakfast all day, every day. Like, my church will tell you that no matter what time I'm up, 3 p.m., it's breakfast.
Patrick?
Dinner for sure. I'm a fatty, so dinner. Big hearty foods. Yeah.
Reggie?
Same as Cortez. Whether it be cheese grits, it's breakfast all day.
Come on, cheese grits.
Cheese grits.
Derek?
Mine would be dinner in places like Spain and Italy, where you start at 10 o'clock and you don't finish until 2.
That's right.
Yes, indeed. Yes, they know how to do it.
All night.
Fish on bring the paella and bring the, yes, indeed.
The paella
yes,
at
indeed.
midnight and
it's hours.
Yes.
Okay, 3 more questions. What is your favorite curse word? And yes, you can say it.
Okay.
Yes, you can say it.
You got it.
Don't get all shy now, because I know you'd use it.
You know, sometimes there is nothing that feels or delivers the punch of "fuck you." It just nothing else will do. So
yeah, I agree. Cortez?
Is your mom watching?
Anyway, one of the first things I say, like if I make a mistake and I have to catch myself, it's fuck.
Okay. 2 for the F word. Patrick?
So it balances out, and I can say this because I'm a Baptist, and you know, in the Baptist covenant it says we can cuss. So so West Tennessee all the way down.
I must have missed that lesson.
Oh yeah, we can cuss. You know, we just smoking cussing Baptist. So it's she, like that's West Tennessee way.
Yes.
But there's also a way of, like there's something that's about, again, being something saying, oh, this motherfucker, like it's not motherfucker, but it's mucker. Yeah. Motherfucker is everything.
Reggie?
Shice. I just won't say it in English, so no one will know.
Right. Can you cuss in Japanese?
I bet he can.
Baka. Yeah.
Ooh. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
And Derek?
Mine is goddamn bitch.
All of them. Just all of them.
Ho.
Yes.
That's Newark coming out of you. Come on, Newark. I love it. I love it. Next to last question. Do you have a celebrity crush? And if so, who is it?
Oh.
Or who are they?
Wow. Oh, goodness. Crush.
Celebrity.
Okay. Just one.
I think Ariana Grande is really, really fly. I think she's really beautiful. It seems like she would be really a lot of fun to hang around. And she's so talented too, and walks in humility, at least publicly.
Yeah. Cortez?
Right now, I mean, because it changes daily. Right now, I would say Tyler Lefty.
Saying who?
Who's that? I couldn't hear you, Cortez.
Tyler Lepsley.
Oh, from the Have and the Have Nots?
Yes.
Gotcha. Is that Benny?
Yes, that's Benny. Yeah.
I watch. Patrick.
Yes, and people. Okay. It is
a crush.
It is what's his name? It's between Michael B. Jordan and Boris Kojo.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I see that. The sexiest man of the year.
But then there's like a refinement of like Boris Kojo. You can't.
Yeah, it's the German fluency. He knows how to play tennis. It's the whole
Yeah.
Reggie.
Shook.
Oh, it's a toss-up between Kevin Love, Kevin Garnett, or Colton Haynes.
Okay. Listen. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Derek.
It used to be Denzel Washington, and it used to be Tom Cruise in their heyday. That's all I have to say about that. Tom Cruise and Denzel Washington.
Gotcha. I love
Classic.
it.
In their heyday.
In the heyday.
Here for it.
Listen, and before my last question, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for watching, and thank you to my guests for being here, and to let you know that I have 3 more shows in December. One is this Saturday, December the 19th, at a special time at 1:00 in the afternoon. My dear, sweet friend, Pretty Yende, will be here with me. So join us. She's in Spain right now singing Traviata. So she'll be here on Saturday the 19th. Yes, Saturday the 19th. And then next Monday, the 21st, the gorgeous, fantastic, brilliantly talented Angel Blue will be with me. I'm so excited about that. And I'm ending the year and the month with a panel of my voice part, fantastic baritones. And I'll tell you who they are as we get closer. So join me for Pretty Yende on Saturday afternoon and Angel Blue next Monday night. And remember to go. Am I going to what?
Send out the invitation?
Yes, I certainly will. I certainly will. And if you all have like shopping and stuff to do, go to the Black Opera Film website, and we have got some cute stuff. We have masks if y'all need to mask up.
Oh, look.
Okay.
Wow.
We have beanies if your head is bald and you cold. We have sweatshirts.
All right.
And if you want to sip tea,
they're promoting all this stuff.
And some leggings as well. Listen, we're doing it all. We're a full service production company. Huh?
How was that Bing thing?
Go to blackoperafilm.com. For more information on that. So my last question is, and don't sign off after we go offline. I want to say thank you off the air. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Ooh, Lord.
You tried.
Wow. Daryl?
I told you so.
Cortez?
Just, God. Well done. Put that off. Like.
Patrick?
You just hit me. It's a Donald Lawrence song. Come lay your head on me.
I love it. And Reggie?
Welcome home, son. Trump isn't here.
I knew I loved you. I loved you so much.
What was that garbage?
When Corona allows us to come out and play, I'm coming to Boston. We're gonna hang out. We're gonna hang out. I love it. I love it.
With you guys too.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
You come on out here, Derek. I'm going to expect you 2022. We'll talk.
I'm coming, Derek. I'm coming, Daryl. I'm coming.
2022, February 2022, the African American Art Song Alliance will turn 25 years. It will be our 25th anniversary.
Oh,
wow. I'm coming, Derek. I'm Daryl. I promise.
I'm coming.
I promise, Daryl, I will be there. Thank you so much, everybody. And again, join me on Saturday at 1 and next Monday on the 21st as well. Take care of each other and yourself. Let's go, Georgia.
Get it together. Get it together, Georgia.
Today is the first day of early voting in Georgia. Let's do it, Georgia. Get Moscow Mitch out of here. Huh? Take care and God bless everybody. Ciao.
God bless you all. Are we saying goodbye proper, everybody?